Hello, my name is Dr. Tonya Sanders, and we're joining you again today for the Know It Now or Know It vlog with Roger, Judy, and I. And we're going to be talking today about a continued instructional design into a one-to-one. Last episode, we talked about all the specifics related to having one-to-one devices with classroom management, and a little bit of instruction, and we decided that we're going to go more detailed into instruction this week. So we're glad you're with us. Let's get started. So instructional design in a one-to-one district, that could be any kind of device, specifically instruction. Now this is, last week we had talked about, you can Google these. Again, I'm going to say feel free to Google any of these. A lot of them are connected to each other. Project-based learning, design thinking kind of go hand in hand with the way that you think about it. But yeah, just Google any of these word for word, and you'll have some kind of structure of what they're like. But I wanted to just basically make this more of a conversation. All of us are teachers, have been teachers, have extensive classroom experience with K through 12 instruction, and all of us have extensive instructional experience with teachers now. All of us have our master's degree. So I'm just going to go from my perspective of all of the education I have, and going back to when I taught my students. So basically what I see as instructing with a one-to-one device is I don't want my kids' face in that device the whole time. I want them interacting with me. That device is there as a tool, and I just want them to reference it when they have to. And this is the way I kind of explain it in some of my classes that I teach, that when, for instance, if I'm talking about World War II and something comes up about a condition in World War II or something in their text, and one of the students ask about it while we're having our classroom discussion, like the computer's there on the side of the desk, it's dead mouse, no one can touch their mouse, no one can be on tabs, anything like that. Basically, the computer is there as a tool ready to, hammer that nail in, or, use it like any other tool we do in our regular life. But let's say that a student says, what is trench foot? Well, that student can, go over, and the teacher be like, yeah, go ahead and Google it. And, everybody share their first image that they find. Then they can, that missing information is right there. You could even have a classroom management way of the students would jump in and be like, fact check, or, something like that. And then they jump on their Chromebook, and it could be turned into kind of like a little game. But you don't want your kids' faces in that device the whole time. Roger, what do you see it?
In terms of technology, it is, it's a tool. It's not my life. It's not the student's life. And so just one of the examples as we talk about, some of the really cool aspects of using tech tools, project-based learning, design thinking, all that whole realm of getting to higher level thinking skills beyond just route memorization. There was a student in McCutcheonsville, 16-year-old high school student, and she just came up with the idea, how can I make my town better? And one of the really cool things, well, she used technology as a marketing tool, as an information tool to get the word out. The actual projects were things like painting storefronts and putting flower boxes around, but she used technology as a tool to get the word out. Let's make our town look better. And it's just, if you drive through there, it's, kind of in between Sandusky City and Upper Sandusky. If you drive through that town, hey, it's looking better. So she used a piece of technology to make her vision, her story come through. And I think that's a good example of what we can always look at, whether it's learning math, the writing process, history, science, whatever it might be. How can I use the technology tools to get to my goal? The technology itself isn't the goal. We need to learn it. And, there's some really cool aspects, online homework and postings that we know work well, and interaction with parents. But it's always, how can I use this tool to help meet my ultimate classroom, academic, and life goals?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad you brought up kind of like the project aspect of project-based learning. That's why I like project-based learning, and I do have some slides at the end for our viewers to look at the basics of project-based learning. But I think that's exactly what it is. It's just like you have this idea, you have this question, and anytime you stumble or need to communicate or need to find something, you just use that device to do that. You're not continually on that. Judy, what kind of ideas do you have related to that?
Um, I think one of the best basic uses of technology is to save time. Um, my students used to have to go through all the cookbooks and uh, resources I had when I taught family and consumer science back in the day before there were even classroom computers, let alone one-to-one. And it just, you have some leftover broccoli and cauliflower and you want to come up with a soup recipe. And going to the internet is going to save you at least a half an hour of trying to find the exact recipe you want, and just finding so much information at at your fingertips is one of the best uses of the uses of technology that I have. And just related to what Roger just said, I wouldn't have even known about this McCutcheonsville project this student is doing if it hadn't been for social media. I mean, I admit I don't go a day without using social media, and I saw that on there. I'm a Wyandotte County native, and so I can't wait to go through my next trip to, say, Columbus or Upper Sandusky or whatever, and see the changes that are being made. My brother just lives outside of McCutcheonsville, so that really caught my eye. So I think there's a lot of good uses of technology for our students today, and just glad they have it and glad I have it.
And if I can jump in there, I think one of the things we need to teach our kids, yes, we need to teach them how to use the documents of Google Docs and how to get their homework online and read the assignments that are due. But we also have to teach them how these tools can use beyond the classroom in some of the ways we're talking about right now.
Exactly, exactly. And Judy makes a great point with the tip of your fingers, like it's right there, and a lot of times when technology came out one-to-one and the students were going to have it in their front of them all the time or accessible, we're always worried about how often people have it in their face. They're just like device usage, and how it's kind of hurting this generation. Like they always have their face in a phone, or they've never not had a phone, or they've always had something in their possession that they could find answers. And a lot of teachers were just like, they're easy, they can just Google everything and get 100 on all my worksheets. And then we had to think about that instruction, because everything is right there at the tip of my fingers. So now we can make it a little bit higher blooms and challenge our students. It's not about the basic facts anymore. It's about the thing that is difficult to answer. If you can Google it, it's probably not something you should put on your test or on your worksheet or something like that. It should make the students think a little bit more about it. They'll need to Google that to help them find the answer to that challenging question. So yeah, it kind of really transforms our instruction. Hence the reason for this episode that we're doing is that we can't just have basic knowledge, memorization of answering questions. We have to have something a little more challenging, that the students take those facts that they can Google quickly to build something a little bit more intense and more challenging.
Tonya, one of the things that we learned during remote learning the last 12 to 18 months was when students are learning at home, they can always Google the answer. And that really has started to reformulate how teachers created assessments and how we evaluate student learning. I do want to make sure students can look up information and get accurate facts, but it's not the fact itself. I'm checking, do they know the process of looking for information and getting valid, legitimate answers off the web and helping identify what's true from what's not true from the web. And you know, that whole idea of media literacy, I think, is going to become increasingly important to us down the road. And assessment itself. And I'm going to be doing some classes on, you know, how do you write assessments? How do you write tests? And we probably will still have at least some things we have to have memorized, but increasingly it's, as you just said, it's not what do I remember, it's what can I find out. These students are going to have internet with them for their entire lives. And how that restructures education, I think we're just beginning to see the tip of a very exciting iceberg on how we can move from the lower level skills to the higher level skills, you know, analysis, synthesis, you know, creativity, and spending more and more time in the classroom on fostering those abilities.
Very well said. And that kind of segues us into, you know, all of those things that you just said are part of project-based learning. And again, I just picked my favorite one, and I'm just going to give you guys the information, our viewers, just allow you guys to have this information. But the whole point is it's the process of finding the answer or building the project that is the basis for that. And you know, Roger had said that you're doing most of your learning through the process, not the final outcome. And that is a huge debate when I'm doing my class. Everybody be like, but isn't the final product kind of the thing that you're grading them on? Yeah, but actually it's a continuation of this from the beginning to the end of any kind of instruction, that you want the students to learn a lot through the steps and the process that they walk through. So
yeah, if I could jump, so science fair projects, which I dearly love, in many of our school districts, you know, Putnam County and other districts around Northwest Ohio do a fantastic job on science fair projects. But some of the best projects that I've seen that scored very, very highly, went on to regional and state competitions. Sometimes those projects were not successful, but the way the student analyzed and experimented and documented and discovered why what they were trying to do didn't work, that is what made it a great science fair project. Not that they, you know, discovered a new way to stop bread mold, but rather, you know, hey, this is what happened and this is what went right on my experiment, and this is how I can do it better next time. You know, that is a fantastic plateau or step, I should say, not a plateau, a fantastic step in our academic maturity when we say, I've learned what didn't work and I can go forward. And, you know, referencing back to the pandemic, the same thing. We need to rejoice on what we learned and what worked well as we were doing, you know, the emergency learning of the pandemic, and what didn't work, so we can do better in the future, face to face or online.
exactly, very well said. Yeah, so reference all of these slides in here, you know, email all of us in regards to like our basic experience. All of us have been classroom teachers of students, and now we go out and we try to pass that experience on to classroom teachers. All of us like have our masters, and we've done extensive research in all the things and certified in a lot of things that are our passion, which you would have seen in episode 1. But you can go through the rest of this and kind of learn a little bit about the design elements and the instructional elements of project-based learning, which is one of the instructional design things that you could implement in a one-to-one. It's really tough because you got to back up and you got to have a different role as a teacher. You're not running everything, it's student-centered. So, but Judy and Roger, thank you for your perspectives today. I really enjoyed your guys' ideas, and as always, pushing that out to our districts to help them understand instruction a little bit more. You can get all this information on our website on the link that you can see on your screen right now. And also at the end of this video, I will put all of our contact information. So if you have any questions whatsoever regarding how to use technology or policy connected to technology use, reach out to any of us and we'll help you with that. So we'll see you next week in our continued episode. We'll be talking a little bit about social emotional. How do we jump into the next school year after all the stuff that we've been through. We know it's coming up on, school is going to start here, and one of my districts is going to start here in a week. We will be talking a little bit, how do we jump into the new school year based on how it's going to look differently, social emotional wise. Roger, Judy, thank you so much. Thank you to our viewers, and we will see you next week. Everybody take care.